relations in the Western Hemisphere. And the Alliance for Progress really proceeded out of plans which the Latin Americans themselves had come up with. And the idea was to combine economic assistance with structural reform in Latin America, reform in tax systems and landowning systems, and with the support of democratic processes in Latin America.
But amid early hopes and positive actions, Kennedy soon encountered a series of explosive crises. In the first challenge to his administration, he became an unprepared accomplice in an ignominious failure.
There was a kind of delusive calm, I would say, during the Eisenhower period. In fact, the United States was very active. The CIA overthrew governments in Iran in 1953, Guatemala in 1954, tried to overthrow a government in Indonesia in 1958, overthrew a government in Laos in 1959, prepared to try to overthrow a government in Cuba in 1960. That last effort project, of course, was inherited by the Kennedy administration and became the Bay of Pigs.
Advised by both the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the CIA that an invasion of Cuba by a brigade of Cuban nationals could overthrow the Castro government, Kennedy agreed to allow the U.S. invasion to proceed.
Well, the Bay of Pigs was the most ghastly mistake that we made during those years. I think I badly served President Kennedy with regard to the Bay of Pigs because I did not press him to ask a question which he did not ask. He should have turned to our Joint Chiefs of Staff and said, "Now, gentlemen, I may want to do this with American forces." If President Kennedy had had a chance to contrast what our own Joint Chiefs of Staff thought they would need with the capabilities of this little brigade, he could have seen readily that this little brigade didn't have the chance of a snowball in hell.
John F. Kennedy deserves high marks for being willing to take the full blame and responsibility for the fiasco at the Bay of Pigs.
This administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them.
Other trials were being prepared. In January, Soviet Chairman Khrushchev had made a belligerent speech, generally accepted as the usual test of a new United States president. Yet Kennedy felt he must avoid the automatic knee-jerk reactions common in United States-Soviet relations.
I remember early in his administration when he found the book, The Guns of August by Barbara Tuchman. And he said, "That's the best handbook I've had on being president that I've ever read." And he said, "It's a book about stupidity." He said, "You know, it's a book about August 1914, the start of World War I. And he said how one man would make a misjudgment, and then another one would not bother to get the facts, and he'd base his action on that misjudgment, and the thing would pyramid until you had the apocalypse of World War I. And he said that can happen now.
The summit meeting between Kennedy and Khrushchev in Vienna in June '61, Mr. Khrushchev, in a rather brutal kind of fashion, tried to intimidate this new young president of the United States by throwing at him an ultimatum on Berlin. Mr. Khrushchev started off with a long ideological tirade about the bases of communism and all the rest of it. Well, when he got through, Mr. Kennedy, in effect, said to him, "Now, Mr. Chairman, you're not going to make a communist out of me, and I'm not going to make a capitalist out of you. So let's get down to business."
The result of that discussion on Berlin was a more threatening and menacing attitude by the Soviet Union and a more determined response by the United States. And the two principals then returned to their respective capitals to get ready for what looked like a very difficult year.
I am tomorrow requesting the Congress for the current fiscal year an additional $3,247 million of appropriations for the armed forces to fill out our present Army divisions and to make more men available for prompt deployment. I am requesting an increase in the Army's total authorized strength from 875,000 to approximately 1 million men. 3, I am requesting an increase of 29,000 and 63,000 men respectively in the active duty strength of the Navy and the Air Force. It would be a mistake for others to look upon Berlin because of its location as a tempting target. The United States is there. The United Kingdom and France are there. The pledge of NATO is there. And the people of Berlin are there. It is as secure in that sense as the rest of us, for we cannot separate its safety from our own.
It had been a sobering first year. For the first time, Kennedy had learned limits, both on presidential authority and on national power. That our best hope lay not in self-deception and the dangerous illusion of omnipotence, but in the clear recognition of reality. It marked a major step in his growth and would shape crucial decisions yet to come. Looking back on that first year, Hugh Sidey of Time magazine remembers,
that whole Southeast Asian picture was worsening. No sooner were we through the Bay of Pigs than the Russians began to put the screws on Berlin. And Khrushchev, in that last meeting with Kennedy, hammered the table and said, Berlin is a bone in my throat. I want it out. And one morning, I think it was July or August, he was out on the Honey Fits and the Berlin Wall began to go up. So there was the Berlin Wall. Then our scientists had predicted that it would take the Soviets about 7 years to equal us in building those monster hydrogen bombs. In fact, we discovered in August they were shooting them off already, years before our experts had thought they would be technically capable of doing that. So that by the fall of 1961, I went in to see John Kennedy one night and he said, I'm going to give this damn job to Nixon.
Summer vacations on sale. AirCal introduces low summer fares to the Bay Area, $39. Sacramento, $39. Reno, $44. Portland, $79. Seattle, $89. Special fares good from all Los Angeles area airports when you travel round trip, but seats are limited and advance purchase is required. So call now, 1-800-4-AIR-CAL. We make flying easy.
Let me tell you, the competition's tough. Stores like Bullock's, May Company, and the Broadway carry many of the same shoes that made Standard Shoes the fashion leader. That's why we've made our prices so low, they can't compete. This nationally advertised loafer sells for $68 at Harris & Frank. Standard Shoes sells the exact same loafer in a choice of 5 colors at an everyday low $59.50. You see, we're pretty tough competition, too. Standard Shoes. The competition made us do it.
Smart shoppers are celebrating Gemco's giant Memorial Day sale.
Pat yourself on the back, take a great big bow. You're a Gemco member, you're winning now.
Yes, smart shoppers are rushing to Gemco for super savings on the latest fashions. Everything for the modern home and the great outdoors. Plus, the lowest overall supermarket prices. Celebrate the giant Memorial Day sale Sunday and Monday at Gemco, where everything you buy adds up to smart.
If you've only experienced harsh malt liquor taste, it's time to change.
King Cobra.
King Cobra is the only malt liquor that's so good when the taste grabs you. It's a different breed, it's quality. King Cobra is cold malt liquor satisfaction and a smooth taste. So when you pop the top, what's the clue?
Don't let the smooth taste fool you. King Cobra.
Anheuser-Busch brewed it to give cold malt liquor satisfaction.
King Cobra.
Don't let the smooth taste fool you.
King Cobra.
John F. Kennedy never stopped growing, and it was his exposure to new problems that accounted for much of that growth. Before he toured West Virginia and Southern Illinois and other poverty-stricken areas of the United States in the course of his campaign for the presidency,